Hey Stampers, it's Joanne from the Rock Paper Scissors Studio, and I know we're a couple minutes late and it's a little bit loud still at my house because my family has not left yet. So we're gonna get started in just a few minutes. If you'll hang out with me for a few seconds. I still have a computer to set up, and yeah, just trying to get everything ready. Hang on, I'll let you see my face here. And we'll take that. This is our World Card Making Day event. Good morning and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here to celebrate with me, but I can't even see if you're here yet because my computer is not connected to my Facebook page. So if you'll just let me get that taken care of. I am so excited about our projects that we're gonna do today. Some of this stuff is things perhaps that you have done before, but some of it you might not have ever seen. There's a few things that I just recently saw someone do. Get rid of that sound. And I had not seen these techniques before. So they were new to me, and maybe some of them will be new to you also. And that will be fun because we get to experience something new together. Okay, let me connect here. This way, if I can see who's watching, here we go. There I am. Then will be new to you also. Okay, a little bit of a delay there. And I'm sorry you can see my camera above my head. But we're gonna spend most of the time looking at my desk anyway, so it really won't matter. But just for now, I think I'm ready. It's okay, Debbie, if you don't have all the stuff for the cards, because you know the instructions, you're not gonna forget how to do something because they're all pretty easy. So you can just put stuff together as we are going or afterwards and play with it. I am going to set up a post on my Facebook page that's just for sharing things that you made today. So it doesn't have to be stuff that I teach you. It can be anything that you create on World Card Making Day. It's just a World Card Making Day sharing post. Because, you know, the more engagement that my Facebook page receives, the more people see the things that we post on there. So if you will share things that you made, that will increase the engagement and it will increase the number of people that see our page. So you'll not only be sharing with me, but you'll be sharing with other crafters, and maybe some lurkers, people who, you know, watch the page but really haven't jumped into stamping yet. So that might inspire them to take that step. So that would be awesome if you'll share things that you made on World Card Making Day on that post, and I'll go into my Facebook page right after I finish the live and I'll set that post up, and you can just in the comments add pictures that you made today. That would be awesome. I would really appreciate that. You can like and share my video too if you find the information valuable, and that helps increase the engagement on my page too, which, you know, is just getting me in front of more people to share this fun hobby with. And I'm so glad I get to share it with you today. I love stamping, you all know that, and I love stamping with my friends. So my friend Debbie is here, and we have been stamping together like for more than 20 years. And so I'm happy that I get to share this day virtually with her. She doesn't live where we can stamp together very often, but we get to stamp virtually. And we're gonna do that even after the live. We have a stamping day planned to celebrate World Card Making Day. So yay. And I hope you get to stamp with other people too, or just virtually with me. That would be fun. But if you have some stamping friends over to celebrate World Card Making Day, that's the best. Okay, I'm gonna switch you down. I feel like you've looked at my bad hair and my phone in the picture long enough, so I'm gonna switch you down to my workspace. here. Okay, and you see I have to fill my stamp and seal before we get started because I ran out of time. I should have made a list last night. I mean, I knew I was out of stamp and seal, but I didn't make a list. So I'm setting up, I also didn't set up my video lights last night. And so this morning I was scrambling to get everything done. Okay, so I'll show you this, how easy this is. So this is what comes in the package. This is what comes when you first get it. You get, you know, a complete one. But when you order the refills, you get this. And so it's very easy. It just fits down in there. Well, there's two little holes that you line up. And then you're gonna put this back on. Boom, and we're ready to go. That was super easy and fast. Okay, so I have 3 projects that I'm gonna share with you today. I feel like I'm crooked. I'm gonna try and line my paper up. Okay. I think that looks better on the screen. 3 projects that I'm going to share with you today. And the first one, card number 1, is called Rip It, Flip It. Now, I saw a New Zealand demonstrator. We're part of a same VIP group. And she had this on her blog the other day. And I had never seen this. Like, I'm sure it's been around for a while. And maybe I've done it without really thinking about the technique, but it was cool and I love our designer series paper, so I'm going to share with you a Rip It, Flip It card. Now, this card you don't need tools for because you already have the tools that you need. Everyone does. I know that you do. And you do need some designer series paper or scrapbook paper, and for this particular technique, you need it to be double-sided. So I'm going to show you what I got. I gave you a list of things to have on hand for the techniques. And they're just base things, like you'll need to add stamping and embellishments and stuff like that to it. But for this card, you need a base, and you know, you want the color to coordinate with your designer series paper. And if you're ever uncertain about that, I want to show you. Let me grab my paper. So on our paper packs, I've shown you this before. Oh, let me get rid of those words. Sorry. On our paper packs, on the back, this is from the Beauty of the Earth paper pack. So the back sheet of the packaging for that paper when you get it has the name of the paper that you bought, but it also has all the colors that coordinate with that paper. So not only is that useful, like when you're working with the paper and you want to match a color, because sometimes, you know, colors are close and you're not sure which one it is. Well, this tells you which one it is. But the other thing you can do, you can use color schemes on the paper. You can, if you're looking for a particular color scheme, maybe for fall, and this paper is very fall-ish, so you could come back here and pick out some of the colors on this paper to create a card. Maybe not using this paper at all, but just incorporating the color scheme. So it's very handy that Stampin' Up! Does that for us. So I have Misty Moonlight because that was on my list of colors that coordinate. And I have this paper that looks like this on the other side. Isn't that fun? And then I have another piece of paper that's a little bit narrower than this. I think this is my first layer, so I don't have my list in front of me, but I believe this is 5 1/4 by 4. So if we fold our card base in half, grab a bone folder. If we fold our card base in half, then this next layer is just going to be 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. Like so. Okay, so that's our first layer. And then our next layer is going to be our designer series paper. But you know, it's way too long because I told you 6 inches, and there's a reason. The technique's called rip it, flip it, and that's what we're going to do. You're going to choose a spot on your designer series paper. It can be right in the middle. It can be closer to the bottom. It can be closer to the top. It does not matter. But you're going to choose a spot on your designer series paper. I'm just going to go at the middle, and I'm just going to tear that slowly across. Okay, so this is the rip it. You could figure that out, couldn't you? There's the rip it, then we're going to flip it. Okay, now we have these 2 pieces, and we're going to adhere those onto our cardstock layer. And because we made that longer, we can play with it and fit it on here exactly, and we don't have a gap. Now, if we had made this just a little bit smaller than this in length and width, we did that in width, but if you did that in length, then when you flipped it, you know, you would have some gaps showing, which that is totally fine and a neat technique in itself if you wanted to do it the exact size. But if you make it larger, like we did, then you can adhere it on there and align it up so that the paper just touches the other designer series paper and there's no white gap. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my stamp and seal here, and it's a new pack. There we go. That didn't take long to get it going. I'm going to adhere this top part down, and of course you can decide if you want more showing at the top and just a little bit showing at the bottom. I'm going to show you some other samples after I get this. I totally did that wrong. It won't matter. I really wanted the other piece on top of this one, but that's okay. It's a different card. So this is a wonderful way to show off our designer series paper because it shows both sides on your card. And we have such wonderful paper, and sometimes it's hard to choose. You know, all the time at classes, people are going, I'll have a particular side chosen for a project, and so they'll turn it over to put their glue on it, and they'll be like, oh, but I like this side too. Yes, I know, it's hard to choose sometimes, so this lets you just take that difficulty off the table because you get to use both of them. Okay, so then I would just adhere this to my card front and decorate it. That's the rip it, flip it. Now I have some samples to show you. Now you could do this card either portrait or landscape, okay? And so the first sample that I'm going to show you is like this, only it's landscape. It's landscape. I did a landscape. So here is card number 1. And I just stamped a sentiment and popped it up. Now I did use this linen thread, and that's another new thing that I don't know why. You know, sometimes you wonder why you didn't figure things out sooner, but I'll show you the trick that my fellow demonstrator showed me for the linen thread. It's really cool. And then the other day I got these little colored metal gems, and I thought that bronze color looked really pretty with that color scheme, so I put some of those on there. So let me show you that technique with the linen thread so you get more for your money, because you all know I'm all about saving money. Let me see if I can find my linen thread without I think I put it in my case actually. This one's almost out, but it should work. Okay, let me take it off the card here. So there's our linen thread, and here's our card. Now I want this one to go this way instead of landscape. So I'm gonna take me some tear and tape here, if I can find the end of it. Okay, I just need 2 little pieces. That's really big, so I'm gonna tear it in half. See, okay, so I'm going to put that on the back of my card on the side where I want to put the linen thread. Okay, and then I'm gonna lift those, remove that adhesive backing. There we go. And then, so you can use a lot more linen thread without wasting any with this technique. So I'm just going to put my linen thread on that tearing tape, okay? And I'm gonna come and I'm gonna take it to the bottom. And you know, we wanna make it look like we wrapped it several times, right? But instead of wrapping it and wasting all of that linen thread, I'm just gonna go back on this side. And I'm gonna go up here. And you know, you could do that several times. I think I'm just gonna do that 2 times on there, and then I'm gonna cut that off. And I'm just gonna take the rest of my linen thread here and tie a little bow. Oops, I need more than that. My hands aren't quite that small. I'm trying to tie this before I cut my thread, just so I can save as much as possible. That is the end of the roll for that one. I do have another roll. Okay. On video, there's my messy bow. Okay, so then I'll cut this. Okay, there we go. And you see, it looks like it's wrapped multiple times, but I have almost no waste of that linen thread on the back of my card. Love that technique. You could do that with ribbon too. Usually I just cut some and tape it, but this is so much easier when you're going back and forth to use that tearing tape. Yeah, love that idea. Okay, so then I would probably pop this up, but maybe you wouldn't even have to pop it up because there's such a little bit of thread on the back. It might hold fine if you just adhered that down with your Stampin' Seal. I'm not going to adhere that down yet because I don't know what else I'm going to do to this card to finish it, but this is the sample again that's like that. It's just landscape oriented. And then I have a couple of other samples that I made. I made this one. Let's brew up some fun with some little coffee cups on it. And that paper is, gosh, let me look up the name of that. It's in the annual catalog and it carried over from last year, if you remember. If you're a paper person, oh yes, it's the In Good Taste paper. It's this In Good Taste, which is $21, but you get a ton. It's 24 sheets of double-sided paper. So that carried over from last year. And I love all of the wood grain and stone textures that were in that, some fiber textures. So I made my little coffee card using that. And then I have one more Christmas. I have a Christmas sample for you. Or winter, it could be because it's just snowflakes, but I put a Christmas saying on it. This is my Christmas one, and this is from that plaid paper that was in Celebration. I hope you got some of that. I got several packages because I'm a buffalo check nut. I love buffalo check, and I use that buffalo check ribbon that's in that mini catalog. So that's my Christmas sample. And now you don't have to position your paper where that white shows. You could turn it and use the other sides because when you tear it, one side will show white and one side won't. So if you didn't like that white showing, which I like that torn look, I like that, I want that to show. But if you didn't, you could make it have a more clean look on the other side. Or you could, you know, tear it straighter and put some ribbon there. But rip it, flip it, that's card number 1. And we're gonna move on to card number 2. Moving right along, which is a watercolor color left. Now this one is a little bit more involved, but it's not hard. Thank you, Debbie. It's not hard. It just is a little more involved. And I saw this on Split Coast Stampers. They give inspiration weekly, and it was one of the inspiration tutorials that they sent out, and I had never seen it before, and I was like, I want to try that, so I tried it, and I'm going to share it with you today. It's called Watercolor Lift. So a couple of tips. I'm going to cover my work area while I'm watercoloring, and so sorry, that's a hot mess on camera, isn't it? Let me get rid of our words. Okay, so this is just packaging that paper came in. This was some black glitter paper. Okay, the cardboard's still in there, and I kept it this way because I want to use that to do messy things on, and I have the firmness of the cardboard if I want to tape something down to it. That's why I have this tape here. But I have the ease of wiping off this plastic sheeting that's on there. So we're going to watercolor on this and save our paper from getting wet for our next projects. So I have a piece of watercolor paper. You might be able to do this with a shimmery cardstock. Honestly, haven't tried. So I don't know how well it will work, but you could try it. I'm using watercolor paper. Okay, and you need to choose an ink color, and I'm using Soft Succulent, which is one of our new ink colors. Now I want ink on the lid of my case because I want to watercolor from here. So I'm going to press this together. Sometimes there's ink already there, and sometimes you have to squeeze it together to get ink on there. Now I'm trying to do this with my arms away from me, so my pressure isn't as good. Let's see if that worked. Oh, it did. Okay, yay. So then you're not going to close your case. You're going to leave it open up like this so that we can, this is sort of our palette. Okay, I'll set that right there. And then I'm going to take an aqua painter. Water painters are what they're called in the new catalog, and you get a set of 3 in a package, and they have different tips. So I'm using one of my water painters, and their water water goes inside this tube. Okay, so I already have water in mine, and if I push at the top of that, water's going to come out onto my ink there, and I can mix that up. I'm going to have to get some water to drink. Okay, so then I'm going to color this all over, I'm going to cover this whole card layer. This is a 5 1/4 by 4 piece of watercolor paper. And the reason I made it that size is because, hold on, I'm going to get a drink of water real fast. I am so sorry. I meant to have water available to me, and I forgot that. Okay, we're good now. Just had a tickle in my throat. Okay, so the reason I made it this size was because once I'm finished with my watercolor technique, I can cut it down to however big I want on my, for my project. So I just made it a bigger size. Okay, so if you get kind of low here on your ink pad and you want more color and you have re-inkers, you can just put a drop of re-inker in there. Or you can start out with a drop of re-inker if you want. If you do not have re-inker, I would not just close this and squeeze it with all that water on there. I would dry that out and then close it and squeeze it to get more in my lid so that I'm not getting water on my ahead. Okay, so we're just going to color this good all over. You could use multiple colors with this. I mean, I'm just trying to show you the technique quickly, so we're just using one color, but you could make it ombre, you could make it rainbow, whatever you want to do. We're just doing one color for today, just to show you the technique. This is the watercolor color lift technique. And once you're done, you can just wipe that, and that aqua painter will be good for the next time. I just wiped it on a piece of clean paper to get that excess ink off. We're done with this. And we have to let this dry. Now, if you're doing it at home and you're doing something else, you could just set it aside to dry. You can use your heat tool to dry it. I have one, voila, that's already dry. So I'm gonna set this other one aside and we're gonna work with this dry one, okay? After I clean off my, let me clean that off real fast. I'll show you how easy this cleans up. I love this. I got this tip from another stamper too. I mean, you just wipe that off and it's ready for the next messy project. So keep one of your paper packages handy, because that's a very useful tool that, you know, you already paid for it, so you may as well get your money's worth, right? Okay, so now we have this dry, beautiful piece of watercolor paper. And this is the one you need a decorative mask for. I chose the masks from the holiday catalog, but we have, I think, 2 other sets of masks in the annual catalog too, so you have lots of options, but this is called Adorning Designs Decorative Masks. And there's a, I'll show you these. There's a snowflake one, isn't that pretty? And there's a striped one. And then there's a couple of other little, this sort of reminds me like of a Christmas sweater maybe design. And then this one that's just little dots in groups of 4. So I guess that could be a Christmas sweater too. I will say I tried it with this mask initially and I didn't have very good luck, and I'll explain why that happened and sort of a solution that my son came up with for that, because I was telling him my difficulties and he suggested something that I will show you in a minute. But for our project today, we're going to use the stripes, and the reason we're using the stripes is because I wanted these large areas on the mask to be able to work with. So if you want to, I'll show you, you could keep your little thing handy and you could tape this down so that it's not going to move, okay? If you wanted to be real precise. I'm not going to worry so much about that, but that is why that tape was on there, so that I could tape stuff down and work with it. It's just painter's tape, so it comes up real easy. So you're going to position your mask on your watercolor piece of paper, and then you're just going to take a paper towel, and I have a bowl of water over here. I'm just going to dip this in some water to get it damp. You don't want it too wet. You just want it damp, okay? So dampen that paper towel, and then you're going to put that paper towel where your mask is, where these white, you know, the spots are on your mask, and you're going to lift that color off using that damp paper towel. And it might take a minute, and sometimes you have to rub a little bit. See, but you can tell on my paper towel that that ink is coming up. You can work on the smaller stripes too, but that, of course, there's more impact there on the larger stripes. Anyway, I'm not going to do this whole thing because I'm going to show you. But this is what you do. You're just going to take that damp paper towel, and I keep moving it around. Now, until you have it as light as you want it, I'll pull that up. You can see how it's lifting the color off of that watercolor. Now, my son's idea for the finer areas, I told you I had tried this one and I didn't have much success. I have not tried it with the idea that he had, but he suggested I use a Q-tip and dampen it. So we're going to try that, but I'm going to just show you on these stripes. I got that pretty wet. If you get it too wet, it's messy and it bleeds through. It doesn't stay where the mask lines are. So don't over wet your Q-tip or your paper. So you can see I got those fine lines there where the Q-tip was used. Okay, so what I'm gonna do though, we're gonna experiment while I have you on here, and I'm gonna try these dots because that's what I tried, you know, earlier, and it was not successful with a paper towel. But maybe, let's see, this is a little wet. I'm gonna pull some of that water off. Let's see if I can get this color lift to work on here with my Q-tip. My son is an artist. I don't know how many of you watching know that. He's a graphic designer. So when I have art issues, he's my sounding board and he gives me ideas. So I was just telling him about this and how it was hard to do the smaller areas. And he said, what if you used a Q-tip? And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Okay, so look, that worked. You can see even those tiny dots. So use a Q-tip if you have a fine mask that you want to use. I'm so pleased with how that turned out. I tried it with the paper towel. You couldn't even tell that I had tried to lift color with it. So yay, yay, Andrew, thank you. Now I have my finished card to show you for that project. Okay, this is I don't know the name of the stamp set, but it's the detailed pumpkin dies, which I had to buy because I want to send all of my friends cards that say, if friends were pumpkins, I'd pick you. I love that. And you know, fall, it's fall now, we can send fall cards. So this is my watercolor background. You can see the stripes that I color lifted off of there, and I just die cut that pumpkin, and I don't know if you can tell, covered it with Wink of Stella. I'm not sure you can see the glitter on it, but it's glittery, let me tell you. So that's card number 1. I have some other cards because I used some of the other stencils. So I want to show you some of the other cards too. Let me move my bowl of water out of the way. Watercolor color lift. I really like that. I had not seen that before. I made a Christmas one, of course, and that uses the snowflake mask. You can see my snowflakes in the background. This is an old snowflake die. It's retired now, but I was just looking for something quick. I don't have the current snowflake stamps and dies, but I did have an old one, so I put that on there. They in our mini catalog, there are die cut snowflakes that you could buy that would be beautiful. It would be very simple card just to do that watercolor lift and put one of the die cut snowflakes in there if you didn't have a die for that. And this is that that it's in the annual catalog. The gold paper is a specialty gold, and then there's a rose gold metallic paper that's really pretty and shiny. I love this card, love it. It says warm wishes for a happy Christmas inside, because you know, snow, which I also love. And this one is not finished, but I just wanted to show you, this is the one I used the I tried out Andrew's idea with the Q-tips, and this is from a different masking set that's in the annual catalog, and this particular mask has like 3 large shapes, and I just chose one of them to put on the front. And then I used this wonderful, this is in the holiday catalog, it's that metallic mesh ribbon Actually, it might be in the annual catalog. Now that I say that, I'm not so sure. And some white seam binding to make that fun. But I haven't decided what I'm going to use it for, so I don't have a sentiment on it yet. But isn't that pretty? You can see that really well on that yellow background. Love it. So that's our watercolor color lift, watercolor color lift technique. If you had never seen that before, I hope you'll try that out because it's actually pretty easy to do. You don't need a lot of skills, but you do need a little more equipment than the Rip It Flip It. Just some watercolor paper and some masks. So there's that. You could actually, I guess, make a sort of a mask using a punch. I'm not sure how that would work, but that's a possibility if you didn't have a mask. Okay, we're ready for project number 3. Okay, so this one is a really old technique and you've probably done it before. It's the baby wipe technique. But I thought maybe there were people who hadn't done it, or maybe you just haven't done it in a while and you haven't thought about it. And it's fall and there are leaves that will be changing, and this technique just lends itself to leaves and fall and color changes. So for this technique, you will need a baby wipe. So I'm gonna grab me a baby wipe here. And you're also going to need re-inkers for this. You can't use a regular ink pad. Now I'm using the stamps. Let me show you my stamp set that I'm using on this card. Get rid of our words. Okay, so this is the Gorgeous Leaves stamp set. And it's not a new stamp set, but it is new to me. So this is the one we're going to use, and we're using a lot of these stamps. We're using this leaf stamp, and this leaf, and this leaf, all the leaves, the little leaves. I think we're using this. We're not using these 2 larger ones, though we certainly could on our card, but I'm just not using those today. Gorgeous Leaves. So that's the stamp set we'll be using. And I just chose some re-inkers. Now I'm going to show you this because this is from, where's my lid? This is from last night, or not last night. This is from yesterday because I worked on this card yesterday. And is that still, oh yeah, it's still very inky. I kept it in a container overnight, sealed up, just to see what would happen if I could reuse it again today. So I'm going to try and reuse it just to see if that works, but we'll do that one after we do the one that we're going to create. Then we'll just see how durable that is, if it's really able to be used the next day. So I just took my baby wipe and folded it in 4 because none of our shapes are very big, so I don't need a huge area. But now if you were using a big background stamp or something, you could certainly just layer baby wipes. I'm using just a lid for a container for this. You want to put it in something where it won't get everything wet underneath it. And then you need several different colors of re-inkers. I said 3 or more. I actually have 5 colors that I used on my card. So I'm just going to start with one of those. I'll tell you what we have. We have Old Olive, we have Crushed Curry, Cajun Craze, Pumpkin Pie, and Cherry Cobbler. Okay, very fall-ish. So I'm gonna take my, I'm just gonna start with Old Olive, and I'm just going to drop this onto my baby wipe. And you wanna spread them out some and do it, you know, several times. Okay, so that's our base color, Old Olive. And then I'm just gonna start taking these re-inkers, and I'm gonna keep dripping them on there after I get a drink. Okay. Cherry Cobbler. I can't quit coughing. I'm I'm so sorry. I have this tickle in my throat again. Cajun Craze. Maybe that'll go away. I need a new Cajun Craze. I'm almost out. I've had it a while. Okay, we haven't done pumpkin pie. This is just random, like there is no rhyme or reason to this, so don't think you don't know where to put it. It'll be different every time you do it also, because your colors won't spread quite the same. You might use different colors. You know, it'll be different every time. Now, you don't want much of a gap in your color scheme. Let's see what I want to put there. I think I'll put some cherry cobbler right there. Oh, wow, that was a lot. Okay, yay. One more. Okay, you don't want a lot of gaps, but that's going to spread out. So don't put them right on top of each other either, because you want some definition in your colors. You don't want it to be a muddy mess. Okay, so now this becomes your ink pad that you're going to stamp with. I'm going to move my re-inkers out of the way. Got them on my fingers. How fun is that? As long as I don't get them on a project. Let me wipe my fingers with a different baby wipe. Inky fingers. See? I don't want that mess on my cards. It might be okay on this card because, you know, it's going to be those colors anyway, but if I handle one of my other projects, I might be sad that I have cherry cobbler everywhere. I'm not even sure how that happened. Okay, good thing I'm wearing an apron, right? Okay, let me find my card base for this card. Okay. Well, we're just going with this. This is just a card layer. And so what I did was I stamped a card layer for my project and I cut it down. You could stamp a whole sheet of paper and then cut it up and like create your own designer series paper with this. Because while you have the ink pad, you may as well, you know, use it up while you have it. You don't want to just make this for one card. You would want to make other projects out of it too. So we're starting with this leaf stamp. And now I'm going to stamp in generally the same area. I'm not moving it all around because I'm just going to make a muddy mess if I do that. So I inked it on my baby wipe, and then I'm just going to stamp on my card. And then I'm going to keep doing that all over my card. Okay, let's try a different leaf. Do this one. Don't you love those colors? I love fall. I love it. Sweater weather, bonfires, s'mores. What's not to love? I don't know. I love it. Okay, so now I have this longer leaf that I'm just continuing to ink these up just like I did that first one. I don't have too many spots that needs to go on. There we go. Maybe just a little bit up here. Okay, and now I have this cute little stamp set that I'm going to use as a filler, okay? And when I did this on my project, I didn't do all three of them. I only did these two. And it's very easy on the baby wipe technique to just not ink that, because I can just stick that, you know, where these two are getting inked and that one's not. Though that did get wet from the baby wipe, it did not have ink on it. And then I'm just going to stamp those randomly around my paper. Put them in different colors so they're not all the same. and turn it around so they're not even oriented the same way every time. And you could stamp all three. We'll stamp all three over here. Stick that there. Just to fill in, you know, make it look designer series paperish. Okay, I think that's pretty good. What do y'all think? Okay, so there is my base. Now let's actually, we're gonna fill it in a little bit with this sort of speckled stamp. But what I'm gonna try on my speckled stamp is my ink pad from last night. Or yesterday. It wasn't even last night. It was yesterday afternoon. So I'm going to stamp off first because I want to see how dark or light this is. Oh, that's still pretty dark, isn't it? So I'm just going to stamp some of that on my paper. My son's calling me. That's funny. He knew I was going live. I have no idea if he had any clue what time I was going live. Anyway, we're almost done. I'll call it back. Okay, I like that a lot. So, hang on, I gotta decline that call. Okay. So, whoops, let me get you lined up here in the middle. There we go. Isn't that cute? I love it. I like it a lot. I love all the colors. So on my card, I'll show you the card I made. Now I only have one sample for this because I didn't make another, I didn't try it out with other stamp sets, but this is the card I made. I made this cute fall card. So I cut down my paper and I lined it just with a little bit larger layer of crushed curry. That was part of our color palette. And, you know, put it on Cajun Craze. This is the Stitch So Sweetly dies, which I have just recently purchased. I love them. You'll see them on a lot of my projects because I'm really loving it. And then I have a stamp set. What is the name of that? That the little acorn came from. It's also a new one that I purchased, though it's not a new, it's from the annual catalog, I believe. It's called Banner Year. And it just has a whole bunch of fun things. And that little acorn is one of them down there. But it's got, you know, a jack-o'-lantern or just a pumpkin if you wanted, a bat. But it's got some Christmas stuff too, or hearts. It's just a fun little set. Banner Year, it's called. So that's where the little acorn came from, and I don't know that you can tell, but Wink of Stella on the little acorn too. So he's sparkly. And then I used that same Banner Year stamp set for the inside and stamped Happy Fall, y'all. And I also, you can see, I used my baby wipe ink pad to stamp a leaf on the inside and some of that speckled stamp too, just to give it some little color inside. Isn't that cute? This I stamped, that's not from the paper that I stamped on. You know, I cut this down to make this piece, but then I took another white piece of paper and just stamped that leaf for my center detail. It was stamped separately. So that's the baby wipe technique, which maybe you've done before, but maybe it has been a while for you, like it has been for me. And so I had fun making that fun fall card. And I love those the leaf stamps. And I'm glad that I got to use that baby wipe technique on those. I'm gonna stick our inspiration cards back up here. That was technique number 1, rip it, flip it. And then we had our watercolor color lift, and finally, stack those a little bit, our baby wipe technique. So those are my 3 techniques to share with you on World Card Making Day. Oh, you got kicked off. That might be from the phone call. I hope it didn't mess up my recording. But the recording will stay up on our Facebook page if you want to go back and refer to anything. And I'm going to, as soon as I end our live, I will be setting up the post on Facebook to share your World Card Making Day creations. Now again, that doesn't have to be something that we did today. Just anything that you make on World Card Making Day. If you'll snap a picture and upload it, I get to see it. I'll show you the things that I'm making, and we can share that inspiration together. If you're on our mailing list, you got week 1 of the 12 weeks of Christmas this week. If you aren't on our mailing list, you missed week 1, but you still have 11 weeks that you can receive in your inbox. Go to the rockpaperscissorsstudio.com and sign up for our mailing list before next Wednesday, and you'll get week 2 of our Christmas 12 weeks of Christmas, which I'm really excited about. I love sharing Christmas ideas with you all. If you have questions, you can contact me, and I will answer them as best I can. I hope you'll try these techniques and that you enjoy celebrating World Card Making Day 2021. Have a great, awesome day.